Hey everyone, I hope you're well. This is CoinsKid, just come down to XRP once again. Thank you for support. Okay, we got a CoinsKid crew. So I did make this indicator a while ago called the CoinsKid liquidity dance, and this is a real-time liquidity display. Basically, every single day we get a liquidity report and we display it in this particular chart. So the blue line is crypto, obviously XRP, Bitcoin, so on and so forth, and the white line is the liquidity coming in and out the market every single day. So you can clearly see, like I said to you, whenever you see a spike up, you will see a drop in liquidity. So these big spikes, whenever you see them, they are actually opportunity to buy XRP, buy Bitcoin, and buy crypto, because you can clearly see every time we have a spike, a few days later, we come back up the stairs. A spike, a few days later, we come back up the stairs. A spike, a few days later, we come back up the stairs. Just there was a big spike, and a few days later, we came back up the stairs. And in recent times, we keep an eye on this. Look, we've got the big spike, and there's liquidity coming back into the market. We've seen Bitcoin and obviously XRP and crypto come up a little bit. So we keep an eye on this, because what I'm looking at, this particular white line, if this does begin to enter a whopping uptrend, it is a massive confluence of fact. Okay, we're in a whopping bear market here for crypto and XRP, and I just don't quite see it yet. So there's no bias at the moment. This white line is in a clear downtrend. So we've got liquidity coming in and out the market on a real-time basis every single day. It doesn't report on a Saturday and Sunday. Unfortunately, we only get reports for this particular indicator on a Monday to Friday. So there is a bit of a gap at the weekend, basically. But you can clearly see big spike up. A few days later, as this is dropping, liquidity is coming back into the market. You're getting your pump right there for Bitcoin. So we've got to keep an eye on this, because at the moment we have got liquidity that's being withdrawn. So if we do see another big spike up, I think a few days after that spike, then it'll be another opportunity, okay, to jump into some longs and things like that and look for spot positions again. So until that day comes, we've got to be cautious, because you can clearly see every single spike up comes back up, Bitcoin comes back down the stairs, spike up comes back up, and Bitcoin's back down the stairs, basically. So we've got to be careful of another spike up to the upside, because if we do see that, then we'll see this drawdown on Bitcoin, crypto, and risk, obviously XRP. So I have created a real-time indicator in the trading view chart, so I'll show you that right now with the XRP chart, but I just want to show you how you can find your trades. For example, earlier in the week I did make a video on XRP showing you how it's quite greedy, and since that 235 it has come down the stairs. Equally, there was a coin called Flux yesterday that's actually rolled over, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can find these trades using two systems on CoinsKid.com that I've developed for you, okay, before we get into the XRP chart today. So every day there are many opportunities in crypto to make money, long, short, spot, swing trading, whatever you want to do, but I've built this system so I can find these opportunities for you. For example, we've got micro market zones, and basically this is just a representation of the greed in the market. So at the moment it's telling you that the micro market zones, actually there's a buy warning, is 10% of the market is sitting in that zone. So basically it's telling you that a lot of coins are sitting in a buy warning zone. So what you can do is just click this link. Okay, so at the moment the favorable trade is not a short or a sell, it's basically a buy warning kicking into buy. So we've got the basically the oversold conditions of the market are outweighing the overbought conditions of the market. It's really that simple, okay? So buy warning, what we do, click on that link, and what you've got is all these coins that right now are offering a buy warning on the micro time frame. And this is what we do, we're looking for micro time frame trades, not necessarily macro. Okay, we're looking for micro time frame trades. So you look at this, you go down the list, and you've got all these coins that have got buy warning. So what we're going to do is just look for any kind of bullish divergence. For example, straight away we've got ICP. Click on that chart. This is a 15-minute time frame. By default, this is what will show you on the site. At the moment, you've got all this bullish divergence that's building here, and we've not really seen anything so far. So we've got multiple bullish divergence. And if you take a look on the 15-minute time frame, this is why it's such a really good time frame for your micro trades, because look at all this bearish divergence that built up, all this bearish divergence from left to right. Look at that. As ICP was coming up and down, coming up and down, coming up and down. Eventually all this bearish divergence kicked in, and you've seen this drawdown for ICP. So if you take a look at this, you've got some kind of 1, 2, waterfall 3, ABC 4, 5. So you've got a 5-wave move to the downside, and right now you've got a buy warning with multiple bullish divergence down here. So this would be a trade for me. This would be some kind of double bottom that comes up like this. This would be a long opportunity. It doesn't mean it's going to take off into space, but the system is telling me, okay, buy warning, take a look at it, see if you can see multiple bullish divergence, which is what we can. So in theory, this should be a long trade, not necessarily a short trade. This is something I'm trying to relay to you. So right now I'll entertain a long on ICP, and I'll look at the God candle back test above, which I've taught you before. So we've got one just there, okay, and I know this is an XRP video, but I'm always trying to help you make money in this space, and this is why I've developed this systems on CoinsKid.com that you can get involved in to find you trading without me making multiple videos for you or multiple posts in the Discord. You can just just come to the site and, you know, use these systems yourself. So at the moment, possible double bottom like this should start to come back up the stairs into at least this green line, $5.23. So this would be a long opportunity on L Bank or Bybit's, entirely up to you. You're looking at a nice little trade around about 6.8% against a herd mentality, and you've got all this bullish divergence just there at the bottom telling you, okay, the long trade's on the table right now. So basically a 1, 2, you basically got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave down, and like I've always taught you, the 5 wave counter is boss. So you've got a massive tick that right now with this bullish divergence, this could be some kind of double bottom pattern that comes up the stairs like this into this resistance, where I would certainly look to TP on that particular trade. And this is just a little micro trade presented to you by CoinsKid.com basically. So there is equally another system that I use, and it's the futures blocks to find your little trades, just looking at a visual representation of that particular coin at that time frame. Let me show you that right now before I get into the XRP chart with you. So a lovely little micro long on ICP right now, W bottom pattern coming back up into $5.23. It's around about 6% long opportunity on L Bank or Bybit. It's entirely up to you. The link's in the video description right. But don't be an over leveraged degen, don't go with life savings, and always, you know, minimize your risk with a very tight stop loss. For example, this will be the stop loss down here around about $4.64 to negate this trade. Okay, it looks like this is a 5 wave counter right now to come back up into this resistance at $5.23. Let me dive into the futures blocks and show you how we find trades on a daily time frame, looking at, you know, a visual representation of the greed and fear. So the futures crypto blocks is really simple. We've had a lot of successful trades off this particular index that I've created for yourself. It's just an immediate visual representation. I do plan to improve this, and equally this is just the micro. I'm going to make a macro version, and on the micro I'm going to include even more coins. Okay, so it's work in progress, but as you're fully aware, I'm always on holiday. Okay, I've got to stop having so many holidays and get some work done for you guys. But anyway, aside from that, earlier in the week we've got XRP, which was in a state of greed. It was orange, and like I said to you, I was using this tool to say, you know, show you that if you're long an XRP here, you're doing it wrong. Okay, you should be looking for a little, you know, little micro short opportunity, and that's played out over the last couple of days. There was a level of resistance on a double top drop at 235, and that's exactly where it's getting rejected. Now it doesn't mean that, you know, XRP is going to crash and go to zero, but these are just a little micro trades that we find. For example, right now we've got a coin, 2 coins here that are, you know, showing a state of basically greed. We've got these 2 coins here. I think there was one yesterday, Flux, and that's already pulling back, so that's not quite hit my short target right now, which is really annoying, to be honest with you. So again, you know, you won't necessarily see many coins popping into the extreme greed. Okay, it's very rare that you see that, but if you do see that, that is a maximum short opportunity right there. Okay, so this is why you got to keep, you know, checking this particular index. For example, you will not see many coins dropping into an, you know, an extreme state of fear. Whenever you do, they are long opportunities. For example, a few weeks ago, just before I went on holiday, Bitcoin had pumped, it done all its business, and it was going sideways, and there was one coin in this index that was still yellow, and I did relay that to you, and it was this coin here, Lux, and that was an amazing trade against the fear and blood and depression, and it was just brought to my attention by the futures crypto blocks. You know, it was yellow. You know, it was the only one that was yellow, so it was standing out like a sore thumb. So again, you know, just come to the computers crypto blocks. You'll find your little opportunities. If you're looking for shorts, you're looking for things that are greed or extreme greed. If you're looking for longs, you're looking for extreme fear and fearful. And right now, there's only one coin in this index that's in this, you know, state of fearful, and it's this coin here. And again, that would offer a long opportunity. You're looking for the bullish divergence. You're looking for the 5 waves down, and that would just offer a long opportunity or a spot opportunity for yourselves right there. So it's just a simple visual representation of the micro time frame index. One key thing to keep an eye on as well, if you take a look, and this is something I've taught you before, usually when Bitcoin pumps and goes sideways, the top end of the market catches it up, and then the mid to back end of the market begins to play catch up. Okay, and you can clearly see this because if you take a look, we've got optimism, and there's more optimism, more pinks towards the back end of the market right now. So it might be a case that, you know, once this is caught up and we start to, you know, see a lot of these coins start to roll over, this might be where Bitcoin begins to break out to the upside, or obviously as another deeper correction right there. So let's dive into the XRP chart right now. But again, if you are looking to, you know, trade these coins using this system, don't be an over leveraged degen. Always apply stop loss. Always look for logical reasons why to go long and go short. Don't just jump in. For I've taught you, you know, you got a visual representation of fear and greed. Find your bullish divergence. Find your bearish divergence. You're looking for 5 waves up, a 5 wave counter to the downside, 5 waves down, a 5 wave counter to the upside. And this is what we do on the channel. We trade and counter the 5 waves. We do it all the time, and this is how we make all the money. Okay, let's dive into the XRP chart right now to see what we can see. okay? So looking at XRP on the daily time frame, at the moment we have seen a rejection of his double top drop, and we're looking at earlier in the week, and obviously we've got the futures block which, you know, flipped orange right there to show that XRP on the micro was in a bit of greed. So, you know, if you were shorting this level resistance, this double top drop, currently it's down around about 5%. So it's not, you know, major percent. It's nothing overly concerning at the moment, but what we do see is a potential little rising wedge into this resistance, where we've got this high, got this low, got this higher high, got this higher low, got this higher high. You know, you're rising, and you know, you're basically getting some kind of compression. So this could be a little micro rising wedge right there, which is technically, you know, these can be quite bearish patterns, because you're rising like this with an accompanied bearish divergence, and don't necessarily see one on the daily. But, you know, on the lower time frames, we did spot a bearish divergence. I think it was a 4 hourly, wasn't it? Where you got this low, basically you got this high on that pivot point, and you got your higher high but your lower high on the other side. So you're quite overbought, and this is one of the confluencing factors of that particular time frame. I said to you, I don't necessarily think there's a long here. I think there's a short, okay? So with XRP, if we go back to the daily, you can clearly see at the moment what we do have is a liquidity dance, okay, giving us clue to the future price action of XRP. And this is something I made for the CoinsKid crew a while ago. I did release it to them, made a, you know, tutorial video on how to use this. So liquidity dance, you can drop it into your charts, go to CoinsKid.com, really simple process. You know, by default it's white, so go down to it and you can change it, you know, to give you a better visual representation. So I'm going to make it yellow so it stands out a little bit more in the video for you. So basically, really simple, whenever you see a spike, and this is something I've taught you, whenever you see a spike up in liquidity dance, it means that liquidity is being withdrawn from the market, and with that you are starting to see a rollover in XRP. So just down here it began to spike up, okay, and with that, what happened to XRP? It came all the way down the stairs. But the fact that it spiked up and began to come back down was a clue that XRP eventually would play catch up, and it has done exactly that. Because whenever we see spikes up in liquidity, you know, like this, it spikes up quite ferociously. It's liquidity being withdrawn from the market, and then it's only an opportunity that when you start to see the, you know, the liquidity coming back in, where you start to see these big spikes up, it's actually an opportunity, you know, to jump into XRP or any, you know, any crypto project and just ride along or spot position, whatever. And this is something I've taught you. So I was away at the time, obviously, but what we've seen this beautiful buy zone being tagged, and with that we're starting to see this liquidity coming back into the market. And what's happened? XRP's come back in upstairs basically. But what's happened right on cue, as we begin to top here, we are starting to see this thing, you know, begin to retrace back up the stairs. So we begin to see liquidity being withdrawn from the market again. So we need to keep an eye on this, because if we do start to see something like this, another big spike up, you would expect XRP to drop down, okay, with the spike up. Because look, every time this spikes up, XRP draws down. This spikes up, XRP is drawing down. Again, it spikes up. What's happening to XRP? It's drawing down. Again, you've got a big spike up, XRP is drawing down. Another big spike up, and obviously XRP is bottoming there in the summer. So, you know, this is just a visual representation of liquidity coming in and out of the market on a daily time frame. It's called a liquidity dance, and it relies on daily reporting Monday to Friday. We don't quite get it on a Saturday to Sunday, so there is a bit of a lag over the weekend. But, you know, it can be a precursor and a warning that once you see the big spike up and you start to see the liquidity dance drop, you know, look what happened to XRP a few days later. So we've got the big spike up, XRP dropped, this came back into the market, which is liquidity. What happened to XRP? Boom, play catch up with liquidity dance, which was a clue to the future price action for XRP. So if we take a look at this right now, you know, in a micro time frame, we've seen another spike up here. What's happened to XRP? It's drawn down as a spike up's happening. But then look at that, the liquidity came back into the market, XRP pumped, okay, as this bottomed, this is spiked up again. What's happening? XRP is coming down the stairs. So if this does start to drop like this and comes down, it could be a precursor, and this is what we've got to keep an eye on, the liquidity dance. It could be a precursor that XRP is about to do that, and not necessarily that. But if this continues to the upside and spikes up, then XRP obviously is going to go in the opposite direction. It's going to come, you know, downstairs, and the precursor would be the big spikes up that we see in liquidity dance is always precursor to, you know, big dumps for XRP. So we've got to keep an eye on this. The liquidity dance is an amazing little indicator create for the CoinsKid crew. So in the current time frame, I'm just being patient. I think we're running to resistance at the moment. There's possibly a little rising wedge here, which is a bearish reversal pattern. If this does start to break down like this, you would expect to see the liquidity dance spike up once more. But if it does start to do something like that, this is where a few days later we will start to see XRP break out to the upside. So come to the charts, drop liquidity dance into your charts, go to CoinsKid.com. I'll keep updated as best I can, okay? But at the moment, obviously, you've been watching my analysis on XRP. There's nothing overly exciting on XRP at the moment. I think it's caught in a retracement, but the one positive bit of news is, the liquidity dance is still clearly in a downtrend at the moment. So I think that all of this is actually a corrective move for XRP. I'm trying my hardest to try and find this bottom for you, but I do think eventually we'll see a turnaround in this market, and this liquidity dance will continue to break down to the downside. Okay, and one of the other key indicators I'm looking at, if confluence of that, is really simple. It's the crystal ball indicator, which is based on M2 global money supply, which shows us late last year we've got, you know, liquidity leaving the market like this. It's bottomed and it's flatlined and it's breaking out to the upside. But in all of this, XRP is creating this correction that once it's over and done, you know, it shakes out all the weekends. I think we've got a reversal in the XRP chart where we start to see possibly, you know, all-time highs over the next few months leading to Q4 basically. So we're in for a good time. We've just got to get this correction out of the way, okay? And once we find the bottom, amazing. It's all systems go. So I hope you enjoyed the content. Please stick with the channel. Remember, you know, there's a saying, those that pick bombs get smelly fingers. It is really difficult, but for me, I'm holding on for dear life. I think XRP's got more upside, and one of the major clues is obviously liquidity dance is still in a downtrend, and obviously the global M2 money supply, which is your crystal ball there, you know, it's showing a whopping you know, wall of money coming back into this market eventually. But you know, like I've always taught you, time in this market beats time in the market. I understand the update. Stay up, stay strong, stay tuned. Take care everyone. Back soon, an update on XRP. Keep an eye on that liquidity dance. It's a leading indicator. Bye bye.